So I know when we were previously talking before we did the interview, we were exchanging some emails, and I believe you said that there was one incident where you guys got into a pretty significant gunfight and they ended up hanging the guy. Is that right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Um,
let's break that down for us.
sure. That was my third tour. I was working up. This was a mission up near Lincoln. Lincoln was an MSR, a big road up northeast or northwest of Fallujah, and it had a massive canal on the north side of this road. The road ran east to west, and there was a big canal, water canal, that was about 600 meters north, and the whole hill just kind of went up until it got to that canal, and then it was a big mound like 20 feet from there, but it all kind of flowed down toward the road. It was about 600 yards, and they were doing an engineer sweep of that road because they Lincoln was a big one. They'd been hit. I had shot some people earlier that deployment, had called for fire early on that deployment for some IED activity on that road, and we were just supposed to overwatch between the engineers sweeping the road so that nothing got put in behind them or in front of them, to plan to hit the guys. And the insert was totally botched with the infantry company that did it. We requested to be inserted about 3 miles from my position, and instead they drove straight to my position and stopped and said, "You're here." And I got out. It was dark, obviously. I get out. I'm like, all right, let's jump in the ditch. And so they would do these safety stops, right? To anyone watching wouldn't know if someone got in or out. And so they do random stops all along whatever route. Well, this stop, we get out, we jump in the ditch, we all hide, and then the convoy keeps going. And I'm looking in my GPS trying to figure out, if this is our insert point, we should have, 5 clicks to the right. No, I'm right at my site. I'm right where I'm supposed to be after my answer. And so, like, well, thanks a lot, guys. You literally dropped us off right where we are. And so we went up and made the hide because I couldn't move. My mission was to cover that section of road. I had to be there. And we went up and found an empty pump house. Pump houses are like about a 10 by 10 cinder block building on the sides of these canals where they house the pumps that pump the water out and down into the field. So we're hiding in there. We're kind of watching the road, and about 9 or 10 in the morning, a sheep herder comes by and peeks in the door from about 30 feet away, 40 feet away, and makes eye contact with one of my buddies and keeps going with his herd. And my buddy looks at me and he's like, "Dude, we got to move." It's like, okay. So I call in, "Hey, we've been compromised by this guy. Request to move positions. We'll just move over, like just down from the wadi and get in the ground. We'll go green side. We'll get in the dirt. We'll dig a hide, whatever." Denied. And so I get back on like, "No, negative. You understand? We need to move. We've just been compromised. They know that we're here, and they know where we are." They're like, "No, your mission is to watch that road. You cannot move. Stay where you are." And I should have ignored it. I should have said Roger that, gave him a ghost grid, and just moved my team, but I didn't. And I said okay. And about 3 hours later, three vehicles full of people pull up on the road just down the hill from us, and they start trying to rush the hill. They had a PKM or a big machine gun on another section that was just hammering the pump house. And so I was reading a book about Blackwater, ironically, at the time, and the whole sky just opened up into gunfire. And we had this one pump house and one doorway to shoot back through it, and about 15 people, all with fully automatic weapons, shooting at us. And 600 yards, they're not real accurate, but you can hear them, and they're whizzing and they're hitting the building. And we're trying to engage back. What they didn't know was it wasn't just my team. I had another team 500 meters away that was a mutually supported position, and they had taken the 50 cal. And so he had a sasser, and it was a turkey shoot for them because they weren't being engaged. They were just observing the gunfight. And so they put down all three of those vehicles and lit two of them on fire with Rofus rounds. Now, a Rofus round has an incendiary compound inside the bullet. So when it hits, it explodes. And so they're having a field day, right? This is the sniper's paradise for them. We were living a nightmare. And I grabbed my flak jacket and I just rolled over in it and kind of just waited to be shot. There was so many rounds coming into that pump house, but it never happened. They did not hit me. And so, a couple seconds go by and I get up and we all start just shooting. I think I was more or less expecting an initial barrage and then it to slow down because I knew they had 600 yards to cover, right? It's like they're not going to do that with this same intensity of fire. And
Right.
so we get up and we're kind of taking turns in this doorway trying to shoot back. And my teammate had a bolt rifle, the A3, the M40 A3. His barrel got shot twice while he was on the gun trying to engage back. He had a through and through on the armpit of his flight suit and another one through the pant leg, and he was never hit. My radio operator, his ruck was full of bullet holes. His toothbrush had been shot in half. He had a vial of holy water that had been shot. His poncho liner was rolled up and it just looked like Swiss cheese when we opened it up. And it was about a 50-minute to an hour long gunfight. And I know that because the other team actually got to record it because they were having a jolly time. But yeah, we fought those dudes off until Cobras got on the station and they kind of took over and they ended up gathering up the wounded and dead and threw them into a truck that they hijacked that was just driving down the road. And we were almost Winchester. My whole team was down to their last mag. And so we kind of needed to be much more selective on what we shot with or what we shot at. And at that point in time, they had forfeited and Cobras came on station and I was like, all right, save your ammo. We all survived this. Like, let's just start doing a, battle damage assessment here. Well, in the middle of that gunfight, it had gotten so bad trying to take turns shooting from that one doorway that I felt I needed to get out of the building. Like we are far better off if we're all online and everybody can engage. And there had been a fighting hole dug in the ground 10 feet from there that I guess had been used by somebody. It looks like a grave, basically. It's just a hole to fight from. And I told the team, I was like, hey, I'm going to go get in that hole. And they're like, cool, give us a count and we'll cover your movement. I said, okay. So I start at 3 and I'm standing at the back of this pump house getting ready to make my run. Everybody changes up mags. And I was like, 1, 2, and they were going to lean in the door and engage while I went around them. When I said 3, before I could take a step, a tracer flew through the door, hit the wall right at eye level, and fell to my feet and is still fizzing this red phosphorus fiery shit that makes it a tracer, right? And I completely bit a hole in my underwear. Like it discombobulated me so bad. I just stopped. I was like, I'm gonna need another count. Like, give me a minute. And we all kind of started laughing. And I was like, oh my God, I was 1 second from walking into that. And we all kind of dumped another mag and then reset. And I did it again and ran out and I head down and trying to just protect my vitals while moving fast. I dove into this fighting hole and do the kind of, head check. Oh, I'm good. I'm not shot. All right, get in the fight, right? Throw the gun up, start engaging, start looking for guys that are making it up the hill toward us at this time. And all I can smell is shit. And my initial thought is I'm gut shot, right? Like, because you don't always feel it. Like, you hear these stories, you don't always know that you've been shot. And so I'm feeling around and like, fuck, like, did I shit my pants? Did I get, where is this wound at? Because I can't find it and I don't feel it anywhere. And I'm consciously trying to find something, nothing. And I look back and my buddy Jeff is shooting from the doorway and I'm like, hey, why does it smell like shit in here? And he starts laughing and he yells over the gunfire. He's like, I took a shit in there last night. I was like, oh, you bastard. And so I had rolled like combat roll into the hole and I didn't see it because I had my head down in the roll and it just smeared it all down my back.
Oh man.
I was just, I was just covered in his shit. And oh, it was a mess. But Cobra's on station. They run the guys off. We start to kind of collect ourselves and look around. They had hit the pump house with an RPG, but it didn't go off. It was dented in and kind of mushroom dented the tip of it, and had fallen to the ground at the base of that pump house, which would have probably killed us all. Um, and so we're walking down the hill. QRF finally shows up. I think the Q in that acronym was not very accurate. They weren't quick at all. They were
For the audience, QRF stands for Quick Reaction Force. They're supposed to be on
yeah,
standby for a situation like this.
right, right. But because they were so afraid of the IEDs on that road, they wouldn't even let QRF drive down it. They made them get out and walk. And so QRF was only like 5 clicks away, but it took them an hour to get to us because the battalion forced them to walk. Which, if I hadn't had another sniper team there, we probably would have lost that one. They were out to get us. Um, but we gathered ourselves. We start walking down the hill, and it's like something out of a movie. There's 3 vehicles on the road, shot full of holes. There's blood everywhere, and clothing, and shoes, and empty magazines, and rifles that they had dropped, and two of the cars are completely on fire. There's black smoke all up in the air, and it's just like the calm after the storm, right? Like, what just happened here? And we get down there, and the cars are just full of guns, full of ammunition, full of ordnance, and they've got syringes in all of the cups. And they had shot up something before they had gone, which I don't know what it was, but we'd shoot these guys.
Had to be some kind of adrenaline drug, right?
Some type of amphetamine, I would expect, right? But you'd shoot them, and if you didn't get a good solid hydraulic shot on either the spine or a vital organ that incapacitated them, these guys get right back up. And and I'm looking at my buddy like, what is happening? Zombie apocalypse here. But that's what they were doing. And a couple of hours go by. We're all kind of decompressed and just waiting on EOD to show up, which always took forever. They're the explosive ordnance detection group that detonate any ordnance that you find or any bombs. And some Marine in a what is it in a some Marine sitting in a turret calls out our name. He's like, "Hey, I think I see somebody out here." And he's looking through a thermal optic because it's getting dark. And he sees this guy in a field on the other side, in the other direction from the road, crawling. And I called out to the lieutenant. I was like, "We'll go get him." And he's like, "No, sniper, stand down." I was like, "Good call. I'd have murdered that dude in a heartbeat." But they went and captured him and brought him back. He was dressed the same as all the guys that we were fighting. He had taken his shirt off and tried to hide it. They were in black pajama pants and like a white top. And his story was that he had been kidnapped by them and was hiding in the trunk, but escaped during the fight. And I'm just
She's
like, hell
a
no.
complete lie.
Oh yeah, like he's not even that good of a liar. And so we had to turn him over. And I ended up a couple of weeks later, I get called in for kind of a side, not full debrief, but they're like, "Hey, just FYI for your information, that guy that you guys captured had just been let out of prison in Baghdad by our government, and he was sent back, and they hung him this morning." I was like, "Nice."
Yeah, it's a
So,
classic example of play stupid games, win stupid
oh yeah,
prizes.